Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Lucky Numbers, which is a game that I played on Board Game Arena, so I don't have anything to show you here today of what the game looked like. But it's very simple to explain. Each player is given a 4x4 grid, a mat, I think, if you're playing on the tabletop version. And you start out with 4 random numbers on this grid. And over the course of the game, your goal is to fill the grid with numbers following really one specific rule, one basic rule, which is that from top to bottom, every number must be in ascending order. So you can have like a number 1 at the top and then say a 3 and then a 7 and then a 20. That would be legal play. Whereas a 1, 5, 3 would not be legal because 3 is less than 5. And that same rule applies in the rows from left to right. 4x4 grid, you have to follow those rules to complete the grid. And the entire game is a race to complete the grid, which is one of the things I really like about the game. It's not, okay, we have a number of rounds to do as best we can. It's how can I fill this grid, this entire grid? And if I do, I win the game. And what this does, I think, is presents a really interesting decision throughout the game to players as to how much they really want to push their luck in terms of filling this grid. Because early on, most numbers will apply to your grid. You can put them in many places in your grid, but they may not be the best fit. For example, you might have an 11 come up, and there's a spot where it will work in the second row or the second column. But do you really want that high of a number that early in a row or column where you need to then place higher numbers, 2 higher numbers beyond that in that same row or column? And so early in the game, you kind of decide, okay, how much am I going to push this race forward? Or how much am I going to plan ahead for the future when I want the numbers that come up later in the game, because these numbers come up randomly in the game, how much do I want to plan for those numbers that come up later to have a greater range of possible places where I can put them on my mat? I really like that decision. I think that's a great, juicy decision because, and it's all tied to that, the game being a race rather than a set number of rounds that you're playing. And that's it. I mean, it's not a complex game, but I love that decision that early in the game, am I going to close doors, basically, to the future? And while I say close doors, you can actually replace numbers, but if you replace numbers, then you're just spinning in place. You're not actually moving towards completing your mat. But you're never stuck in this game, basically, is what I'm saying. But early in the game, you have that decision. Do I prepare myself for later in the game, or do I push that race forward now and try to race early in the game and hopefully get a little lucky so I can complete my mat before the other players? I highly recommend checking it out. If you have Board Game Arena, it's easy to check out there. I think this would actually be a really fun game to play in real life too, because it's so simple. I could easily play this with anyone, whether they're a new gamer, experienced gamer. If we have experienced gamers and we just want to play something light at the beginning of any or game night, Lucky Numbers would work great for that. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about Lucky Numbers that you really enjoy, things that you really enjoy, or if you can think of other games that may give you this choice of, do I push this now, or do I leverage my chances for later? Yeah, love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks.